I'll hit record.
Okay. All right. I'm sure we'll have some more people join us as we go along here. But what I wanted to do is just do a quick recap of what we've talked about so far. And then we'll get into the topic for tonight. But I wanted to do a recap just so you kind of have the big picture and the overall view of, why it's all set up the way it is. The first week we talked about knowing and understanding the tracks that you want to leave. And the tracks are the impressions that you leave for the generation that comes after you. So knowing and having clarity with those tracks that you want to leave is super important, because when you understand that, you understand your purpose and all that, you have that kind of clarity going forward, that it's easier to work towards the goals that you have if you're very clear about that and what your purpose is.
I think it's good too to remind yourself. I get sidetracked a lot, right? Like of what I'm working for, or what I want, or it's easy to get sidetracked, I feel like. So I think for like having that vision written out is so much easier to be like, okay, focus on what tracks you want to leave instead of getting sidetracked.
Right, and those tracks can change too. I mean, it's not like you have one set of a vision that you have for the rest of your life, but those can change as life circumstances, everything changes. Those can change as well. So having that up to date clarity in your head is super important. I had you guys do that activity where you closed your eyes and you imagined driving on that dark, windy road, and there was fog, and what were the feelings that it brought up? And mainly the feelings were, it was scary, it was confusing, it was difficult. But then the emotions that came about when you thought about driving on a clear path, straight road on a nice sunshiny day, it was it was easy, it was fun, it was free. Okay, and that freedom is the same feeling that you're going to have when you're clear with the tracks that you have. When you have that clear purpose, you know exactly what direction you want to go, and there's really nothing that can stand in your way. The next week we talked about knowing your arena and understanding the human terrain, so understanding what human nature is all about. When you understand why people act the way that they do, and understand the history and all that kind of stuff about why people do the things that they do, then it just makes that much easier to communicate and to relate to people and to understand why it is that they're acting and doing the things that you do. We talked about your scars from the past. And that's part of knowing the arena is knowing your past and being very clearly connected with the scars that you have and what you've learned from that. The deeper understanding you have of your own personal scars and your history, the more you're going to be able to relay that and to clearly share that with people, and to relate when other people are having similar life events and circumstances. You can empathize with them, and that's really how you build solid relationships. But you have to be clear with it yourself first.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
This happened actually today. One of my coaches posted a story of hers from when she gave birth to one of her children. And I hadn't heard this story before, but she had, like, her first two births were totally fine and clear and nothing was wrong. And this third birth she had, the baby's cord was wrapped around its neck. And every time she was having contractions, the cord was getting tighter and tighter. And she told the story today on Facebook. And I don't comment on everything on social media. I don't have time, but I happened to see her story, read it. It was about her daughter's birthday. She was turning 6. I mean, listen to how much I remember of that story. But she talked about the fears that she had and how she was so scared that something was going to happen to her daughter. And so she was so thankful that everything turned out. I commented on that and was like, oh my gosh, I had tears in my eyes reading the story, because I was relating because I'm a mom too, and Tiffany might not be able to relate to that yet, but I related to that. And so I commented, and it made me have like empathy for her, and to feel how, like, I literally put myself in her story and was like, oh my gosh, what would that feel like if that was my baby? And I, was scared that the baby wasn't going to live or whatever. So that just totally reminded me of just that post today, and how much more respect I had for her, and that connection I had because she told that story, which was a simple story. It wasn't like something, her daughter's fine. She's 6. It was her birthday. She was just talking about like, happy birthday to my daughter. And instead of it being just like, yay, she's 6, it was a story that people could relate to with her. Right.
And so, you can share bits and pieces of your story all the time, and it doesn't matter if it's not, like this big grandiose story. Like Tiffany said, it's tied into another story, but she's sharing little bits and pieces of it. But the cool thing about that is what you said is you remember, all these details of the story.
Yeah.
And you feel that connection with this person that you haven't really met before. And probably when that person's post comes up again, if it shows up in, another one of her posts shows up in your feed, you're probably
more likely to read it.
Yeah, you're more likely to read it. You're more likely to, get more involved with this person. And that's exactly what you want. You want to have people looking for your posts and, like waiting for the next one to come out, basically. And when they're scrolling through Facebook and they see your name on there, they're like, oh, I got to stop and, see what she has to say. Okay, that's exactly what you want. And when you build those connections with people, you're going to have those long-term lasting relationships. And that is the key to your business, is having long-term relationships that are basically the foundation of your business. Oh, there's the wine mariner. Just saw it.
I didn't see it. Oh,
see,
is it a girl? Did you say it's a girl? Imogen? A girl?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's pretty.
See, good looking dog.
Is she all gray? Oh, she's pretty. Okay. Make her come closer.
All right, we got sidetracked. Anyways, so that's what leads into the next week. Where
Hold on, I have one more thing to say about week 2.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think one thing that really stuck out to me was a really good reminder from week 2 is the human nature, like the nature of people, and what we all desire is to be connected and belong to something, and to feel listened to and cared for. That's such a good reminder, because it's so easy. I posted something in, did you guys watch those videos Tyler posted from Leadership? That one that Ali Upham? Mm-hmm. The one that she did. If you have not listened to that, go listen to that speech she gave at Leadership. Her name's Ali Upham. I don't remember what the title was, but people were raving about it. And my coach, Krista, that went to Leadership, was raving about it. And so I went and listened to it. And that's exactly what is so easy to forget, is people. It's like the very thing we join this business for and love helping people, we forget about, because we're so ready to move on to the next month or the next challenge pack or the next group we're starting. And it's so easy to let people kind of fall by the wayside and forget to make them feel like people. And her whole speech is about that, and like throwing people in groups and forgetting, rather than having a personal relationship and a personal phone call or a Zoom call or something to make sure that we are caring about them as individuals, and not throwing them in a group and hoping that it sticks, hoping they do well. So, I think that's always a balance, right? Because you can't do their workout for them. You can't do their training for them as a coach. You can't force them to do anything. But to make sure we're not forgetting about the very reason we even started this business, which is people. And I will be the first to admit, I get lost. People get lost in the shuffle because I don't give enough time to individuals. So if you haven't watched that speech, go watch that. But that's one of my takeaways from week 2, is remembering that. That's everybody's human nature, is to belong, to feel cared for, and like we're actually listening, not just asking questions just to really not care,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talked about how people are so disconnected now, where we have all these tools that are supposed to help people, connect and, to keep in contact with each other. Yet, with all of these tools, people are more disconnected than they've ever been.
Tell them about that radio ad we heard the other day on the way home for that for like an answering service secretary person or something. You don't remember that?
No.
Sorry, I have to say this too. We were in the car and it was an ad for like a virtual secretary. Uh-huh. But it was like a machine. It was, it was like an audio voice recording. It wasn't a human. And the whole ad was like, get back to what's lost in our society, which is human interaction, and buy our service, which is like a robotic secretary. I'm like, are you kidding? Those people drive me crazy. I'm always trying to be like, I want to talk to an actual person. I want to talk to a person, not a computerized. And that was their whole slogan and sales pitch was, get back to what is lost in our society of human interaction. And I'm like, that is not a human. That's not a human. We keep trying to like computerize and make everything easier. And we're losing we're losing the interaction part. And there's only certain things you can hire out, right? Do not hire out a robotic secretary. That is the wrong thing to hire out. Okay, sorry.
Okay. So the point is that everybody, even though we are so disconnected as a society, everybody has that need within them to, one, to feel valued, and two, to feel heard. And that's why knowing your arena, knowing the human terrain is so important, because that's something that's built into each one of us human beings. And the more you can help to fulfill that need of people, they're going to want to stick with you and to be close to you and, be a part of what you're doing, right? We want to build a business that's going to be around for us and the next generation, and that's going to help to provide a solid foundation for people to come, not just, earn some, quick money right now. It's we're trying to build this solid foundation, and where that comes from is building those relationships, connecting with people, and getting them to feel valued and to feel heard. Okay, so one of the things we talked about last week in connection was the power of story. And story is what helps us to build that connection and to really relate to people and to empathize. Say that word. Empathize with people, right? That's what really draws people in, is the power of story. And so we talked about how you can develop a good story and all that. And so if you look at the past few weeks, we've talked about being very clear on yourself and your vision, your purpose, being clear on your tracks. We've talked about understanding the human terrain, so understanding other people and where they are. Okay, so we're clear on ourselves, we're clear on other people, we're clear on understanding how to connect those two, right? Us and other people. And now this week we're going to talk about leading from the rooftop. And that's what the whole topic of this group was rooftop leaders. And I told the story in the first week about Scott Mann, how he would go into these Afghan villages and they would come under fire by the Taliban, and how every night he would climb up to the rooftop with him and his Green Beret buddies, and they would fight off the Taliban. And night after night that would happen until the local villagers that they were helping to protect would start to climb up to the rooftop with them and start firing back and defending themselves. Because up to that point, they had been so beaten down by the Taliban that they couldn't protect themselves. They couldn't fight back. And they were at the mercy of the Taliban. But because of Scott and his friends, they went up to the rooftop. They started fighting and protecting these villagers first before the villagers were able to go up and defend themselves. And that's what it really means to be a rooftop leader, is you are willing to take that first step. You're willing to go up first before anybody else is following you. You're willing to serve the people that you're surrounding, even though they may not like you, even though they may not trust you. whatever the circumstances may be, you're willing to serve and to do the work and help the people that are around you, even though there's probably not anything in it for you at the moment, right? But the payoff comes is later on when these other people start to come up to the rooftop with you and they start fighting alongside you, and pretty soon you've got this awesome group of people right there along with you, and you see that success. Okay, so that's what it means to be a rooftop leader, is you take that first step and you go up before anybody else is willing to. Okay, so one thing that we talked about I talked about in a video yesterday was pivotal moments. And pivotal moments are events that happen in your life that change the course of the direction that you're headed. And pivotal moments are not, they don't have to be, big life-shattering, moments, but they can be small moments that when you look back on the past year, they're moments that just kind of changed your course a little bit. And these pivotal moments happen, like I said, whether you know them or not, that they happen, and you see them kind of in your rearview mirror and look back and say, oh, wow, look, I had this moment. And so what I wanted to have you guys do is write down a pivotal moment, looking back over the past year. Write down a pivotal moment. So a moment when, life tapped you on the shoulder and reminded you of something important. Over the past year, write down a couple moments that you may have missed. Okay, if you want to write down a pivotal moment that actually did change the course and you took that opportunity and you went with it. Okay, but also I want you to write down a moment where you had that shoulder tap and you missed it and you didn't take that opportunity. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to write that down.
Let me clarify. Like it didn't, it happened, but you didn't learn from it basically, right? Or you didn't change direction.
Yeah, you didn't change direction. The moment happened, but you didn't change course.
God, that's hard.
Okay. All right. Did everyone get a chance to write those down? Okay. And then I'm going to give you 2 more minutes. So I want you to write down So you just wrote down, the pivotal moment, the shoulder tap that happened in the past year that you missed. Now I want you to think about when that shoulder tap comes again, what are you going to do different this next time?
Yeah, because I was going to say my shoulder tap, I don't know if you guys are feeling this, but like my shoulder tap has come like 100 times and I keep missing it. Does that make sense? Like I'll just share mine as an example, but over the last year, fear has paralyzed me, right? And I'll get the feeling of like, don't let fear paralyze you. It's okay, like move forward. But every day I deal with that same thing that's like I battle with every day. That's like fear. And then sometimes I fight it and sometimes I listen and like hear the tap, and other times I let it overtake me and it paralyzes me.
Right.
So I have like 100 times that tap has probably happened. Okay.
Okay, a couple minutes. Do different.
What are you going to do different? Okay.
Okay, did you want to share yours?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so Tiffany's going to share, what she's going to do different, and then if anybody wants to, give you guys the chance to share it as well.
So as soon as we hit mute, I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do when this same thing pops up every day? And he said, well, at the seminar, they talk about two things, and maybe you're probably going to share this, but one is to have something like that you rehearse so that you repeat to yourself, like a statement or something every time you feel that, miss the moment coming up, the tapping you on the shoulder. So to rehearse something, and the second is to give someone else permission to call you out on it, which I liked. So the first thing I said I was going to do was pray. I'm kind of a praying person. I believe in prayer. I'm not good at doing it. So the first thing I wanted to do was pray. The second thing I wanted to do was to repeat, I will not allow fear to paralyze me any longer. Repeat that to myself over and over. And the third thing I wrote down was immediate personal development. So for me, I learned 2 years ago when I met Summer Tucker that personal development is where it's at. Like, I couldn't rely on my coach. I couldn't rely on Tyler. I couldn't rely on anybody else to keep my mojo up. I was responsible for that. And if I was having a bad day or struggling or frustrated, it was it was nobody else's responsibility to pump me up. It was my job. So I learned the importance of personal development and how much of a difference that makes when I'm doing it regularly. So that was the third thing I was wrote down, is I'll immediately do personal development so that I can fuel myself so I can give to others, basically, or so I'm not fearful. Those are my three things.
Okay. Anybody else want to share theirs?
Mine is, I don't really have I don't feel like you do. I guess the only thing is that I worry that I'll get everything done, and next time I'll relax, breathe, and trust in God and know it will come, meaning like with this business and everything. And then another thing I have trouble with is not wanting to work out all the time, but I'll remind myself of the reason I have to get healthy for myself and that I want to be a leader for others.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is this last section is about rooftop leadership. So it's focusing on leadership. And leadership is not, it's not an accomplishment. It's not something that you achieve. It's not something that you kind of work your way up a ladder and you get a certain position and all of a sudden you're a leader, right? Leadership is uncomfortable. It usually doesn't feel good. Okay, when you take that step up to the rooftop and you start leading, it's not a good feeling. It's usually uncomfortable, and that's normal.
Well, especially when nobody's following or joining you, that it's hard.
Yeah, it's not a smooth process all the time. It doesn't go wonderfully. You're going to have hiccups and failures, and it's kind of clunky, and it takes time to really develop. And chances are when you start to take the lead and you start to really step up and be more out in front, then you're gonna get scared, right? You're gonna have those emotions of fear. You're gonna have all your stomach churning, your heart racing, all that kind of stuff is gonna happen. That's normal. Okay, that's just a normal human response. That's if you look back on our discussion on week 2 about understanding the human terrain, when humans were approached with a danger or the fear of being kicked out of their tribe and that shame that came along with it, that was a real kind of a life and death scenario, because if you were kicked out of your tribe, you're off on your own. It was this life and death thing, so we got this kind of fight or flight mentality about us, and that's what we feel when we stand up and start to take the lead. Is we have that cortisol pumping through our bodies, and we have that fight or flight mentality, so our heart races and all that starts to come about. Now that's normal. Okay, that's always going to happen that way. Oh, we got another dog. There must be a sign that we need to have more dogs there. Okay, so it's going to happen. Just understand that's the way that it's going to be. And even if you've been a leader for years, it's probably still going to feel that way. So don't let that deter you. Don't let that fear, that uncomfortableness make you believe that you're not a leader, because you are. And the fact that you've signed up to be a coach, the fact that you started challenge groups, you've talked to people about their health and fitness, all these different things, already you are a leader. Okay, don't let that fear and that uncomfortableness hold you back from what you can really do. If you take the things that we've talked about over the last 3 weeks and you really apply them in your life, and you apply them for a higher purpose other than just selling a challenge pack. Okay, if you really apply these things for a higher purpose, people are going to follow you. If you're stuck on just trying to sell things and have that transactional relationship, you're going to struggle to really get people to follow you. You're going to struggle to build a team. You're going to have people falling out and being inactive. You're going to go through just this spiral of, you know, not ever being able to build a solid business. But if you really take these things and apply them, you get clarity within yourself. You get clarity with the purpose so that you have and the direction that you're headed. You're going to have people want to join you and want to be a part of what you're doing. You're going to build a solid foundation. So if you dig deep within yourself, understand those treks and lead from that point. Okay, lead from those scars, lead from those tracks that you have, lead from that vision that you have for your future. Okay, pick that point inside of you and lead from there. Okay, that's what's going to be stronger than the fear that you have, and it's going to overcome you know, those feelings of anxiety and stress and, you know, that uncomfortable, that pit in your stomach, that churning, you know, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be able to get right past that. Okay, those feelings of clarity are stronger than the fear. So I wanted to have you guys write down something else here, and so I'm going to give you 5 minutes to write in your workbook. And what I want you to write down is after this group, okay, after, you know, usually, you know, you're a part of some sort of, you know, seminar, personal development, summit, Super Saturday, whatever it is, you know, and there's a little bit of hype involved with it. And you've got that kind of hype and drive and stuff. So, but usually what happens is you leave that and then the hype dies away and nothing ever ends up changing. So what I want you to write down is after this group, how are you going to keep this going? How are you going to really establish yourself as a rooftop leader? How are you going to take the lead in your business, in your family, in, you know, whatever situation that you're going to apply it to? What's one area in your life that you're going to really step up and lead? Okay. Normally, you know, us human beings, like we talked about, we have those feelings of anxiety, and so we're reluctant to really step up and lead. And you know, we've kind of been conditioned to not rock the boat and to keep things pretty, you know, calm and steady. And so it's normal to feel that reluctance, but that type of leader, that reluctant leadership, is somebody that you want to follow. Okay, somebody that's a reluctant leader is somebody that you should be following, because you know that they're going to follow through with what they're doing. You know that they're doing it for a higher purpose other than just trying to show up and look good. Okay, they're doing it for a reason. Okay, so write down, what are you going to do to keep this going, and what's one area of your life that you're going to step up and take the lead. All right, so we'll come back here. All right, so one of the things about rooftop leadership is we shared about how Scott would go up to the rooftop and to start a fight where the local village people were not in a position to fight yet. But he would still go up to the rooftop and he would still fight back against the Taliban. And the lesson with that is the people that you're leading may not be ready to really step up and take the lead themselves. But Scott met the villagers where they were at, right? He was willing to step up and fight for them, even though they weren't willing to fight for themselves. And the lesson there is that you have people on your team, you have people that are surrounding you that may not be in the position to really put 100% of themselves into the business. They may not be in the position to spend as much time as you are, or whatever.
For same with challengers and potential challengers,
Yeah.
There's people who aren't ready to buy a challenge pack or aren't ready to commit to a program or aren't ready to eat right. How many people have challengers that aren't ready to eat right? I have one girl in my group that's literally been in there for like 2 years, and she now is a rep for I think she's a rep for like wraps. And she messaged me on the side. She's like selling the wraps on her Facebook, but then she's messaging me on the side saying, I'm gaining all this weight. So, people are they're not ready necessarily. And I think about my journey. I wasn't ready to eat completely healthy when I first started. I was still sneaking food out of the garbage can. So
yeah, right. So you have to be willing to be on the level of the people that you lead. Okay, you have to be willing to step down to where they are and understand that that's their reality. That's where they're operating right now, and be willing to really be there with them in the position that they are. And as you are with them and you build that relationship with them and you help and support them, then you can help to elevate them up. But you have to be willing to step down to where they are. Okay, you can't expect people to be up where you are all the time. You have to be willing to meet them where they're at.
Where you want them to be.
Yeah, or where you think they should be. They're not necessarily where you think they ought to be. But anyways, so when you go up to the rooftop and you start taking the lead in your life, people are going to come at you with spears, with knives, and with crabs.
What's a crab? What? Like an animal?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Spears. Okay. Spears are something that are launched from a distance, right? Okay. Spears are people that may not be familiar with you. They're usually anonymous. When you step up and take the lead, they're going to, anonymously make comments. They're going to try to tear you down. When you take the lead, you're threatening their position. And so they don't like that. They feel uncomfortable. And you are representing change, and change is uncomfortable. And so that you threaten them. And so they'll anonymously come at you. You'll probably see comments on your, Facebook posts. You'll probably, get a message from somebody. you know, something like that. People are going to come at you with spears. They're going to come at you with knives. Knives are used close up. So you're going to have family members, close friends, you know, whoever, people that are close to you that might do the same thing, that might, you know, try to tear you down. They might try to really hold you back because they're close to you and they're at a certain level. When you start to step beyond that and go further, you're representing change. You're leaving that pack. And people don't want you to leave the pack. They want you to stay right there with you. They don't want you to shame them and you know, you're part of their clan, right? You're part of their tribe. They don't want you to bring shame upon their, you know, tribe of people right here. And so they're going to try to hold you back where they are. Okay, you represent change, and they don't want that. People, and then the third one is crabs. Okay, if you put crabs in a bucket, what do? You'll have one of them that will start to try to climb out, and the other ones will grab onto it and pull it back down.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you can leave a bucket of crabs out, and you know, you don't have to put a lid on it because they pull each other back down, right? Okay, people are going to come at you with crabs. Groups don't want you to leave the clan. They want you to settle for where they are. They want you to be, you know, on the same level that you are. And if you start to try to climb up and you know, be that brave one that's trying to leave the bucket, they're going to pull you right back down. Okay, and that's what leadership feels like. People are going to come at you when you try to be a leader. But if you understand that, you're prepared for it, you know what's coming, when that starts to happen, you're okay because you're expecting it, right? You're okay because you know it's coming, you know what it's all about. You know they're just trying to pull you back, and it's because of their insecurities, and they don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to feel like you're, you know, too good for them, and you're trying to, you know, step above them. Okay, but you know that, understand it for what it is. So what I want you to do is write down now. This is the last thing I'm going to have you write down. Is what is it going to cost you, or what do you think it might cost you to step up and to take the lead? Who is it that's going to oppose you and throw their spears and their knives, or who even might, you know, just kind of take a step back and dismiss themselves from your life? Okay, what is that cost going to be to you? That's the question. So we'll give you a couple minutes to answer that one.
I am muted.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys have a good, clear vision of what it's going to take to really step up and to be a leader. You have a clear expectation of what it might cost you, and understand that, you know, the cost of it is going to be worth it, because the vision that you have for yourself and your you know, family, loved ones, you know, your future is going to be worth it, and you can't expect to get to where you want to be without having some sort of sacrifices. And if you allow those spears and knives and crabs to make you settle for the, you know, your status quo, or, you know, settle for the mediocrity, then you're never going to really leave those tracks. You're never going to accomplish that vision that you have for your future if you're allowing those things to hold you back. I had a class before, and it was, I think, like a finance class, but we talked about opportunity costs. And the opportunity costs are, you know, you have this opportunity for gains, but there's cost associated with it. And that's what this is you have this opportunity to really make something different for your life. You have this opportunity to really go after the dreams and the vision that you have for yourself, but there's always going to be a cost associated with it. And as long as you're okay with that, and you know and understand what those costs are going to be, then you know, making that sacrifice is going to be worth it going forward. Okay, so understand what those opportunity costs are going to be. After, you know, in you know, society, the way everything is right now, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's, you know, just in our communities and society in general, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of stuff going on. You know, there's fear, and there's talk about, you know, even in you know, Beachbody, there's, you know, all this talk about, oh, you know, volumes down across the board, and, you know, oh, the company's suffering, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. You know what? Fear is contagious, and if you're a part of that fear, you're a part of the talk, you're a part of any of that stuff, then you cannot lead. If you're contributing to the chaos, you're adding to the chaos, you cannot be part of the solution as well. So you have to be willing to stay above all of that, and understand that even though there's all these different things going on, I'm going to step up to the rooftop, and I'm going to take the lead, and I'm going to be bigger than all of that. And I'm going to go after my vision. I'm going to go after the tracks that I want to leave. And who cares about all that other stuff, because I have no control over that. What I do have control over is what I want for myself, what I want for my life. That's what I have control over. And when all the dust settles, the smoke clears, when, you know, all that chaos happens, and you know, whenever that smoke clears, the person that really stands up above all of that is the leader. That's when leadership starts, is when you're willing to stand up above all of that and take the lead and say, no, this is the direction I'm heading, and you can come with me or not, but I'm going to take the lead, and this is where I'm going. Okay, that's where leadership starts. Be an example of vital behaviors. When you're the first one up to the rooftop in your team, and you know, nobody else is you know, running a challenge group, or nobody's, you know, running a free group, or nobody's you know, doing whatever, you know, new thing that you're going to try and do to really connect and to lead out. Even though nobody else may be doing that kind of stuff, if you're willing to be that first one out there, to be an example and to show, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to be up on the rooftop. I'm going to do these 4 vital behaviors. And, even if nobody else is going to join me, even if nobody else on my team, wants the same thing that I do, I'm still going to do that. And the more you do that, the more you consistently do those behaviors, do the basics, you connect with people, you lead, pretty soon you're going to see people start to follow you. Maybe it takes a few months. Just like, Scott was up on the rooftop for several days before people would join him. But eventually they're going to do it.
And it was like one at a time, too. It wasn't like the whole group.
Yeah, it wasn't
suddenly
like all
joined
of a sudden
him.
everybody was up there. It was like one person. All of a sudden he looked over and there's one guy standing up there, with his gun firing back at him. And he's thinking, man, this is pretty cool. We finally got somebody. And pretty soon the next night there's 2 guys. And the next night after that, there's 4 or 5. Okay. It takes time and consistency, and it takes you willing to stand up and to be the first one up there doing those behaviors, hitting Success Club or, whatever your goals are. But pretty soon you're going to start to see your team follow you. Okay. So that's the end.
That's the end
of the next call. Okay, I don't have anything else. But if anybody has any questions or comments or anything you guys want to talk about, anything that was unclear, you want me to repeat or clarify or anything like that? No? Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for these 4 weeks. I just want you guys to know that I completely 100% believe in the power of story and the ability that we have to connect with people, to build relationships, and to build your business solidly, have a strong team if you understand these principles, if you understand how to really connect, how to really form those solid relationships with people, build a foundation for your business, and I guarantee you that you're going to see a change. You're going to see your business grow. Okay. Anything you want to add?
No, it's good.
Okay.
Good recap.
We'll keep the group open for another week or 2 or something, give people a chance to ask questions or clarify anything you want. But then after that, we'll probably close it up.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank y'all.
Night.
Bye.